Hey everyone. In this video, I want to talk about why you don't need to control your emotions. But wait, before you freak out, what I truly mean is you need to control your actions while under the influence of your emotions. I'm sure some of you are probably freaking out and thinking, what the hell are you saying, Josh? Are you basically giving us a free pass to act like children? No. But a lot of people say this common phrase of you need to learn how to control your emotions. And the more I've thought about that phrase, the more I realize that it's not all that helpful. Because when you truly get down to it, controlling your emotions is very difficult. What I mean by that is trying to stop yourself from feeling a certain way due to specific triggers is incredibly difficult. It usually takes years or even decades of meditation and grounding work and that sort of thing, improving yourself to get to a place where things no longer trigger you and where you're not feeling certain emotions in certain situations anymore. But for the average person, that is very difficult to do, and most people aren't going to put in that kind of work to be able to literally control their emotions like that. For most people, they can't really control their emotions, meaning they can't stop them from rising up within them. I mean, think about this scenario. Think about a situation that made you incredibly happy and a situation that made you incredibly angry. Were you able to control, literally, meaning stop those emotions from arising within you? Both the good emotions and the bad? Were you able to stop yourself from feeling that happiness? Were you able to just shut it off, maybe even before it arose? Were you able to do that with the anger? Probably not, because it's super difficult to do. Emotions are they're kind of like energy within the body. And certain things are going to trigger that energy and it rises up within us, and we usually don't think about it at all, right? Like, you don't think about becoming happy when somebody says or tells you a compliment. You don't immediately think, oh, they just said something nice about me. Now I need to remember to start feeling happy because of what they said. No, you immediately start feeling that happiness right away. You don't control it. So this is why I've realized it's far more helpful to teach people and tell them to try to control their actions rather than trying to control their emotions. So that's my whole point with this video. What I believe everyone should do is work on themselves to maximize that space between stimulus and response. I believe it was Viktor Frankl, I could be wrong here, who said that there's a gap between stimulus and response. And what he meant by that is whenever you basically encounter something that could potentially trigger you, there's a gap before you have an emotional response and then take action on it. And within that gap, you basically can decide what you want to do. So, if the stimulus here is an emotion, like you're feeling angry, there's a gap before you act on that anger. So, what you should do is maximize your decision making process within that gap. So most people, what they do is they feel that anger and immediately they take action. They say something mean to their friend or their partner or the stranger, whoever ended up pissing them off, and or even in some cases, some people take physical action on it and they end up doing something that they regret. So the right thing to do, the conscious thing to do, is when you feel that anger, feel it, know that it's there, feel it rising within you, but then opt not to act on it. Not to say something mean to the person who upset you, not to physically act on it, especially that one, because that could get you in a lot of trouble, and it could even get you killed in some situations. So definitely control that. So this is what everyone should strive to do. Strive to control their actions while under the influence of emotions. And I do like that term, under the influence, because our emotions can very much be like a drug. They can really kind of steer us in the wrong direction. Like, anger can be equivalent to being drunk in some cases. It can literally affect your ability to think rationally, so it is kind of like a drug. And knowing that, you should just strive not to let your emotions guide your actions. You want to master them in the way of meaning you feel them, but you know that you don't need to act on them. That's where I've gotten to in my own life, and I can tell you it helps so much. It makes people think that you actually are in control of your emotions when no, I still feel angry quite often, and I still get triggered, I still feel sad, I still feel happy, but I don't act on those emotions, because that's the important thing. It's just so difficult to stop yourself from feeling emotions at all, so I don't think that should be anyone's goal. It's far easier to control your actions. And I mean, it still takes work, believe me. I'm not saying that that is an actually easy thing to do, but once you start consciously working on that, it becomes easier over time. So now to give you some tips for working through that, since I know you're probably wondering, I would actually encourage you to start practicing more mindfulness. But since meditation is one of those things that a lot of us just don't put aside the time to do, what I would say may be more helpful is just to practice breathing techniques throughout the day, because you can do this anywhere. You can do this for any amount of time that you want. It basically frees you up to practice this without needing to set aside 10 minutes or 5 minutes of your day to focus on it, because most people just aren't going to do that. I mean, even I don't really meditate. So I mean, it's one of those things that can be somewhat tricky to create time for. So knowing that, a breathing technique is far easier. And the one that I like to do is I like to breathe in deeply and slowly into my diaphragm. So that means pushing my belly out and then sucking it in when I breathe out. And I like to count to 10 when I'm breathing in. So I don't mean like 10 seconds. So I literally just mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10. And literally in that cadence. And then when I breathe out, I usually count to about 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But you kind of want to go as slowly as you can if possible, just so you don't want to make yourself uncomfortable. But practice that breathing technique as often as possible throughout the day. You can do it anywhere. You can do it while you're working. You can do it while you're at the gym in between sets. You can do it while you're driving in your car. You can do it anywhere, which is why I encourage this technique for everyone, because it allows you to practice a grounding technique without setting aside time to meditate. You can do it anywhere. You have no excuse for not doing this. And it also helps with stress and anxiety, so those are added benefits as well. But that for me has helped me immensely, because it allows you to then practice that breathing technique and control yourself when you feel your emotions. So now if somebody upsets you and you start feeling angry, think about that breathing technique and start practicing it while you're angry. That way you'll feel those emotions, but you'll have created that gap between stimulus and response, and you actually won't have a response to the emotions. And that's how you start to conquer them. And one more tip here is just becoming more aware of your emotions, meaning actually noticing when you're feeling certain ways, because when you practice that, it'll also help you develop awareness around them completely, so you'll know when you're feeling something, when you've received that stimulus, so then you can know not to act on it. Because a lot of people, yet again, they're not aware of their emotions, so they don't even realize when they're acting based on them. So for this one, it's literally just, yeah, it's still easier said than done, I get it, but this one is just basically about trying to be more in tune with your emotions, meaning trying to become aware of when you feel them. So if you're going throughout your day, check in with yourself as much as possible and ask, how do I feel right now? That practice will help you then go inwards and think, okay, right in this moment while I'm sitting at work, I feel bored. Or maybe you feel nervous or anxious because you have a test coming up, or there's some chore you need to do later on in the day. Or you can check in with yourself when you're actually feeling happy and go, hey, I feel good right now. I'm feeling enjoyment or satisfaction, whatever it may be. Just get into the habit of also asking yourself how you feel throughout the day, just checking in with yourself. That will help you start developing awareness of your emotions, so that when you start feeling them in the moment, you'll notice that you're feeling them, so then you'll know not to act on them. So that breathing technique and that checking in with yourself are two great practices that you can do anywhere at any given time of day, and they will help you develop awareness of your emotions and ground you so that you won't act on them anymore. And that is how you conquer your emotions without stopping them from arising within you, because that's really difficult to do, and you don't really need to do that. So, like I said earlier, you don't need to stop yourself or control yourself from feeling your emotions. You just need to control your actions while under the influence of them. Anyway, I truly hope this video helped you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci!